This is the thing I'm going to email to you. So let's talk about the one thing that I actually wrote down definitively on the page was Day Tripper, but let's start with that thing from your song. So, you know, step one, you fret like you're playing E minor. Step two, you put your first finger on the fourth string, anticipating that note that it's going to need to play. Your pointer finger, and you're subconsciously going to want to put it one lower, like you're playing E major, but which you did correctly just now. But we mean it's just hanging out there, ready to go. Like if you were playing C, the same way that you would do that or whatever, you know. Anyway, so yeah, you know, and there, this finger's still just hanging out there. It was just the left-hand part was my ring finger picked up, and then you lunge for this with your ring finger, which you are having no trouble with, and not flopped down, so you're going to accidentally hit multiple strings. If it goes single notes, then, and the reason we choose this finger, if it happened like, if it was just, we'd use our middle finger because it's already on that string. The reason we're using your ring finger is because it feeds right into the bar chord shape that you're playing next. It's going to have that in it. So, you know, so what if it just was... So stop the video at home now and just go over that song. Do not worry about rhythm. It's just a grocery list you're going over. And while we're at it, now let's add another element, which is down, up, down, up. So we're going to be picking down, up, excuse me. So if we just look at our right hand, what we're doing is we're picking the 5th string, the 4th string, followed, and then the 5th string. So anytime we're going back and forth between two strings, it's going to be down, up, down, up, down, up, not playing in the little spaces between the strings. And as a product of you doing this pretty much 100% of the time when you go to play lead, and also kind of when you're playing rhythm, down is what's felt intuitive for every single note ever. So, you know, first of all, let's just go going back and forth between any two strings. Just get a feel for how that feels. Just going down, followed by up, you know, not playing in the little spaces between the strings, hitting the 5th string down, the 4th string up. Something else we verbalized is this is the 3rd string, this is the 4th string. That's something you can just decide, like geography test style, as those are the ones we are prone to confuse at first. So yeah, you know, down, up, down, excuse me, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. That's just, you know, using the... So don't do this on Anchor. Think of it as little strums. Great. So there's that. And let's stick with... And that was about... So 3 minutes in your video, we started talking about Day Tripper, and I'm just going to make a note here. 300. So great. Every song, and you know, and a lot of people at first, they just kind of take this I have one big finger approach to guitar. A lot of that was a product of the fact that when you very first started, it was really hard to push down. So a lot of things that you can do now weren't even an option then when it was like really hard to push down a single note. So, you know, the entirety of Day Tripper are notes that are either open string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, or 4th fret. So we just have, you know, you're going to use your first finger for the 2nd fret, your 3rd finger, you know, it's just these 3 fingers, these 3 frets. And if you can get yourself in this position right now at home, where all 3 fingers are just chilling out on the 6th string as though they're ready to play, all of them actually making contact with the string. Try that now. It'll naturally put your thumb in the position we need to be in to play riffs like this, which is the same thumb position we need to be in to play bar chords, classical thumb position. Or there's ways to play Day Tripper with thumb over the top. It's your tendency to put your thumb off to the side, which again goes back to when you very first started playing and you had to put the guitar in like this fucking vice grip. We want to be, you know, whether you're in classical thumb position or thumb over top, we want it to be parallel to your hand, not off to the side. And that's, you know, something I didn't mention until now. There'd never be a downside to having, you know, picturing like a piece of string between your middle finger and thumb. And you know, and this goes double when we move up the neck. People tend to drag their thumb back there subconsciously, kind of like running home to mama. You know, that's all shoulder and elbow, but that's not what we're doing right now. Right now, we're just going. My 3 fingers are ready to do, you know, these. But anyway, great. So let's just break this into really tiny sections. the way the song starts is with an open note. We're about to play the 6th string 3 times, all with downstrokes. Please don't play right now. Yeah, so, you know, it's going to go open, 3rd fret, 4th fret. Those were all downstrokes because we're just hitting the same string. There's no 7th string to be on the way to. So just going. Great. So there's a dosage of info you can probably handle. What I want you to make sure not to do is come up with a song that loops there and goes like this or something. That's switching to the part of our brain we use for I'm going to take this test and forget it forever. What we're going is one good one. What did I do wrong? Reassess, do it again. But I mean, how many times of doing that is it going to take before you get it? Not that many. Then the key part of this song is that when you go to the index finger flops down part, that you try not to bunch your whole hand up. That goes back to when it was really hard to push down, and that's why you're using your pinky and flopping around doing this whole thing. But you can actually, you know, just do that with your first finger now, with your hand still spread out, even if it seems counterintuitive and not like something you can do. And if my thumb was back here, it would seem hard. So that's all we're doing now. We're just going part 1 followed by, and at this point we're doing just all downstrokes. Who cares? We're going to add right hand after the fact. So, and then there's an open string, but we don't, that part's easy, just hit an open string. So we're going to just work on going. And I'm making a point to take a random amount of time between each note, emphasizing that this is just the part where we memorize it and go over the dance steps so that we can dance. So there you are, just going part 1, part 2, and then if you like, the last note. And when you do that, just try to keep your fingers ready for, you know, these same frets rather than going like some kind of crazy thing like that or whatever. So there's part 1. I'd like you to stop in your practice right now and work on that until it becomes easy. Just that dosage of info, especially working on it in that, followed by this. That seems pretty realistic. And, you know, again, the key is to be consciously focused on what you're doing, not switching to guessing headspace. Cool. So the second half of that starts out with us fretting the 2nd fret of the 5th string with your pointer finger, and instead of using your pinky, using your 3rd finger, which again, it's just, we're using these 3 fingers for these frets. Hold down those 2 notes, just like the 2 lowest notes in a B minor chord, but we're not barring, we're just playing 2 notes, your fingertip, your fingertip. And this part, you just push down, and then you don't need to move your left hand at all to do that. So just, and then, you know, and then we just have the, at the end. So yeah, you know, just using your ring finger for this instead of your pinky. Again, there's like a lot of situations where you're going to want to have your pinky available, but it's also just as simple as we've just been doing this. It's just chilling there to be ready, and you already know how to do this shape from bar chords. That's a power chord right there, just the 2 lowest notes you can play. So many things you've heard from all genres. But anyway, so, and then during that, you're just pushing down that shape. There's no left hand movement. And then is with your 1st finger. And again, the key concept is going to be not sandwiching up your whole hand there, but keeping it ready because it's just going to recycle back around. So that it can be this never-ending troubleshooting thing where it can just go, you're going to be here playing notes and minimizing the amount of movement you use so that you're ready to play more notes at those strings. So there we are. So, you know, just go through it a bunch of times like it's a grocery list and you don't care about the rhythm. You're really good at the first half before you try the second half. And here's the key concept. Don't start at the beginning when you're working on. Just start there. You don't have to go to be allowed to go. And there's another thing that people don't emphasize enough is, you know, it's way more fun to start at the beginning every single time, but it's detrimental to our purpose right now, contrary to our purpose, I should say. So yeah, you know, right now you're working on a section that's just stop, reset, do it again, don't worry about rhythm. But when you feel okay about doing that, go part 1, part 2, including being allowed to do a big pause in between. Like, just get your shit together and... Great, so stop right now and just get comfortable with that. We're mostly left-hand focused. If you use your normal right-hand fundamentals right now, that's okay. Now that you've done that, let's include right hand. We're going to be freeing up our hand, not doing this, because that feels like down is the only motion that makes sense. Thinking in terms of like little strums. For now, just make a relaxed fist, like when you're playing rhythm guitar. Great, so we're going to be going, and this is on the page, down, 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 up, down, in the first one. So there was one single up. Down, 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 up, down, and that was, you know, us going back and forth between those notes. So just go back and, you know, at this point you already get the left-hand part, so you'll have actually that, you know, enough conscious focus to be thinking about this. Also, the good news is there's only one up. Down, 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 up, down. So stop your video, get good at that. Second half, down, up, down. You know, if we were just going back and forth between two strings, that's how we do it, is to not, you know, we would only be able to do that so fast. Yeah, so down, up, down, up, down. That's us just using the momentum of our hand. It is alternate picking, meaning down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So there's the whole thing. And don't worry about recycling it. Just go for one good one. And again, right now, we're just working on not the first part too. So get good at the first part, including right hand. Get good at the second part, including right hand. And then and only then, try to incorporate both hands. And after that, and only after you get good at that, start worrying about playing in rhythm at whatever tempo. It's fine. Here's your suggested practice tempo. Just give yourself plenty of time. But you could be like, and accomplish the same exact thing that we're doing right here. So, you know, then starting something slow and then bringing it up to tempo, always going to be so much easier. Anyway, so at 12 minutes in your video, I'm going to start talking about playing rhythm guitar and just go over that very briefly. The concept was that we're going to be using a much wider range of motion than you'd anticipated. Our up strums are going to have the feeling of a wind-up, and our down strums are going to find us all the way down here, thinking drum, not harp. Looking to just graze all the strings with equal motion. And if you're doing a chord like E minor or G where we hit all 6 strings, then just start with that first. And do something like super easy, like starting with all downs first. Just like going down. Stop, get good at that. Having done that, now just try alternate strums. Just down, up. You know, really, again, we're consciously focused on what you're doing. Don't shift to the feel headspace yet. And sorry, you could be doing G this way if you like at this point. I'm just doing that because I'm thinking about other chords. So then another thing we talked about is when you go to play chords like C, where we intend to sound just 5 strings, that your thumb just barely making contact with the string allows for us to use that same, you know, playing actual guitar approach. It's going to be a much wider range of motion than you anticipate. Here's how we hold the guitar. What everybody does at first is they put their arm out in front, which causes this like down, down, down thing, and that's what you're currently doing. We want our arms slung around so that it's in the crook of your arm. And that naturally and it can be then slided a little bit over the top this way, but not out in front of the instrument. Not I'm steadying the instrument like this, but, you know, it's in the crook of my arm and I'm using my arm and wrist. That's, you know, what we do, and, you know, you can just move laterally to get over the sound hole rather than changing your whole arm, wrist. You know, right now you're like back here. You could just move that way a little bit rather than moving out in front of the instrument too. And that's where we are when we're playing rhythm guitar, as opposed to I'm out in front of the instrument, which is something you started doing at first because you felt like you had to steady the instrument. You know, if you do this, you let go, nothing should happen. We're not holding the instrument up here, so totally. So it's in the crook of your arm. I didn't bring that up until now on purpose because now, and only now, we're talking about rhythm guitar. So Let me just, F bar chords for right now. Just stick with open chords and things that are really easy. Theoretically, you could just be hitting open strings right now for what we're working on. So, just kind of play some songs that you're really good at, that you can do in your sleep, even if it's just like a 2-chord song, knocking on heaven's door, whatever that you can actually play. And try to just swing away like you're playing a drum, not a harp. The way the guitar looks, it really implies that you line it up here and then strike, and that makes sense doubly when you're in this position. But yeah, so just loosey-goosey, wrist and arm, swinging away, much wider range of motion, much more arm involvement than you're used to. And that's how we play rhythm guitar, including that thumb over the top thing. Like if you were playing D, where we're trying to hit 4 strings, as long as your thumb touches the 6th string, it's still going to sound fine. So for now, we're going to decide that while we have a strategy to mute the 6th string that's totally easy and intuitive, that we're going to hit too many strings and in favor of, strumming decisively, and then work on being able to do things like pick more, precise things. So yeah, kind of just go back over rhythm, and those are the 3 things we did. We did our, just looking at, kind of making a more efficient hand decision there. And I'd love at the end of all of this for you to go back and try to play that song and take a similar approach to working on it to what we just did, where you really just do it in little teeny sections and just be really slowly and make those strums, big movements. But that'd be the absolute high end of what we're working on this time. We're retraining both of your hands to play correctly, not yet having approached switching from, hybrid picking, which is for very specific styles, like, Chet Atkins kind of chicken picking, as opposed to, next time, if it seems like it interests you, we'll get into how to play finger style. But for now, let's just kind of get both your other hands cooperating, and any song that you want to play or bring in or something, the same concepts are going to come up in there. Anyway, cool. Good stuff.